Kenneth. Thanks for opting into the video critique. You're right. This one, it's pretty tricky to first of all, you're learning a different program, but actually understanding with the goal for icons can be a little bit tricky too. So I will say that you're heading in the right direction. All right. I looked over these and I think conceptually, you understand the goal of the icons, right? These look like they could be for a party store or for a little girl's birthday party or something. They all go together in terms of theme, roughly in terms of size. And so that's the direction that you want to be heading. I will say some of them are placed a little bit off on the artboard, so be sure to pay really close attention to that. I'll divide this into quadrants and then make sure that they're living kind of in the same space. See how your cake looks like it's a little bit up and to the right when you compare it to the candle, for example, which is kind of living dead center in the middle of your artboard. All right, so pay attention to that. That's a small thing, but I think one of the things that I'm going to challenge you to do is to remove the strokes. Okay, take off the black strokes you have on everything. I would probably, maybe you could get away with leaving them on the circles, but I think it will look better if you get rid of them everywhere. Okay, and then use a colored fill instead. All right, you run into a lot of issues when you're working with strokes. This is a good example. See how you have the bow, and if this was a real object, the bow would add a little bit of dimension, but it actually is on the inside of the outside of your stroke. So you could work with a stroke and you could make it work, but if you do, you have to pay really close attention to the dimension that you are adding to your design by adding a stroke to things. Okay, so theoretically, if this is a lid on a box, it would need to be a little bit bigger as opposed to the exact same size. And changing that around while working with the stroke is really hard. And the stroke overall, it can look good on a design, but there's a reason why. Let's see, I think let me just remind you real quick and kind of reinforce the direction why we're going the way we're going. Is because there's a reason why things look better when you remove the stroke. It instantly is going to update your design and make it look a lot more crisp and clean. That is taking its sweet time to pull up, huh? Okay, so I'll come over and show you kind of what I'm talking about. It's on the weekly announcement, but just to reinforce it, I think your design is going to look much more contemporary. It's instantly going to look better if instead of having these black strokes on everything, you get rid of all of them and work with colors. Now you might be thinking, but wait, I wanted a white candle. Pay attention to the width between things too. These look a little closer together than down here. Maybe this one in the middle feels like it's pretty far apart compared to this. So little things like that, pay attention to that. That's going to instantly make your icons look that bring to that next level. So zoom in really closely when you're working on icons. That's one thing that I would recommend. And then pay attention to those details like width. But you might say, oh wait, I wanted my icon to be, or my candle to be white. So if it's just a white shape on a white background, that's going to look bad. Well, that might be the case for this one, and maybe your wedding cake too. Let's see if that would apply to the other ones. You could probably add some color. It looks like this is a light color, so you could probably add some color to the background of that, and to the background of this one perhaps that's a light color. But I think you would actually maybe benefit from having a super cool shape in the background, maybe a gray circle or something along those lines, or black. Maybe instead of having a stroke, you have a black box around all of these. Something that it will push it to that next level from a design perspective. So they're not just drawings anymore, they're a set. Now you're heading in the right direction with the color. Okay, this is all consistent color. You have polka dots appearing. One thing I would say is it feels like too many polka dots, probably. Think about this party hat being the size of an icon on your phone, a clickable icon that's going to take you to an app for Party City or something. This is probably way too many circles. Instead, they would probably have 1, 2, 3. All right. or maybe a maximum of 7 or something, you know, and scalability, this would probably be bigger because this is going to kind of disappear and just look like a weird fuzzy thing when your icon is, you know, the size of your thumbnail. All right. So think about your icon set as that small scale, and then you'll start making some of the more clear choices when it comes to how many circles do I put on this and how big do I make this puffball on my party hat. Okay. So that's going to help you head in the right direction too, is how it's going to look when it starts getting smaller. And then for your cake, I think you would benefit from simplicity. Okay, so we have 5 layers, a lot of polka dots, a lot of stroke. Instead, let me do a little search and let's see what other people have done with cakes when it comes to icons. Okay. So these are a little more complicated, right? This one's kind of complicated, but it's all black. So that would be an interesting design choice. Let me see if I can find something that's a little bit more close to what your goal is. Do you want it to be an actual cake? Okay, so see this? See how it's pretty interesting? Oh, this one. This is a good example. Okay, this is pretty interesting, but there's 3 layers and there's a little bit less going on visually. It still looks interesting, but it's not so much going on that you're having a little bit of hard time keeping track of it. Now this is an all black icon set, so these strokes actually work because it's something kind of different. But since you're adding in color, I think I'd still recommend, oh, I will say, if you really, really love strokes, sometimes people do something like this, where they have only strokes and nothing really filled. So you could go to that direction. This is hard to do and have it really look good because you're gonna think that it's an easier choice, but it actually ends up being pretty hard. Okay, so look at things like this. Try to find inspiration from designs that already are heading. I'm trying to see if I could find you some good colored examples. Okay, so maybe something like this. That would be kind of neat. Or maybe this one. Or, you know, heading in this. Now this, I would say, is too busy. Okay, so this is away from the direction that you want to be heading. This is toward the direction you want to be heading. Ooh, look how cool that is. See how they added gray shadow to the side? So it looks like it has dimension. This is really neat because they're taking their designs and they're adding this gray shadow to the left side and to half of it. So it's adding a really cool additional effect to the icons. I will say one thing when I started mentioning background color on yours. I don't really, oh, here's something maybe. Okay, something like this. This would look really cool. Like just a nice circle on yours. You could even pull kind of a shadow effect, or you could just have a square. So thinking like this, thinking how to unify your design. The other thing I would say that we need to do